And good morning, One Life. It's great to be on the conference call this morning. Last week I started the call off by saying that we do this call every morning. We certainly don't. We do it once a week on Monday mornings, but it's always a highlight to my week and a great start, I hope, for you as well as we get geared up and ready to go for another week here at One Life America with all of our agents. And y'all certainly are the reason that we do what we do. And thank you so much for not only your efforts that you give us, but also for being on the call this morning. Don't want to take too much time. I'll go ahead and introduce our devotional speaker for this morning, Michael Kober. He's been a part of the One Life marketing team for just short of a year. Originally from Montana, he's currently living in Meridian, and he's attending Mississippi State's Meridian campus pursuing a business degree. After graduation, I believe he intends to continue on to seminary and eventually devote himself to full-time ministry, potentially. He didn't know I was going to mention this, but on a personal note, he's quite a fan of the Golden State Warriors. And for those of you who can't remember, he's even gone as far as to share a devotion on the topic of leadership, I believe, using Steph Curry as his primary example. And a little side note here, in his office he has a little bit of a shrine to the Golden State Warriors. But no, he certainly keeps things in perspective. Great guy, and it's my honor to introduce one of our own, my friend and fellow marketing rep, affectionately known as Camper. Camper, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Jeff. Once again, not the first time I've been here, but I like to mention each time that it's such an honor not only to be on the conference call, although as much of an honor that is, but even more so just having a home here with a company like One Life, and being able to share my faith with each agent and people on this call is, I just want to encourage and inspire people as they go throughout their week and strive to be the best agent that they can be, and strive to be the best that they can be in the spiritual life as well. But as I was kind of sitting down and thinking as far as how to inspire you or what to use for your inspiration this week, I was kind of drawing some blanks there. So I really concluded that I wanted to tackle the topic of inspiration itself. So I got two questions for you. The first one is what ultimately is your inspiration? And the second one is, what is it leading you to do? And starting off with the majority of our time, just kind of telling you a story, one of my favorite stories of inspiration. But growing up as a sports fan, as Jeff alluded to, I've always cheered for the underdog. It's something that I've considered myself to be throughout not only my sports life, but my entire life. But one of my favorite underdog stories is found on an ice rink. I played ice hockey for 13 years, and my favorite story is in the year 1980. The location is Lake Placid, New York. The Soviet hockey team has dominated international hockey for the previous 20 years, obtaining the last 4 gold Olympic medals with a record that's 27 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie over their last 29 games, and outscoring their opponents 175-44. The Soviet team entered the 1980 Olympics as the heavily favored team to beat, and the American team was quite the opposite. They were the youngest team in the tournament, averaging 21 years old, with only 1 returning player from its 20-man roster from the previous Olympics. However, through the brilliance and hard work and dedication of their new head coach, Herb Brooks, the team is constructed to have a chance against the Soviets. And then, as you can conclude, the inevitable happens as the U.S. team gets paired with the Soviet team in the semifinal round in a real-life David and Goliath matchup. As you can guess the outcome, the U.S. team wins in dramatic fashion, as dubbed the Miracle on Ice, and goes on to win the gold medal round as well. But my focus is in the pregame locker room speech given by the head coach, Herb Brooks, to his players. I'll read you a section of it here. He says that great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here tonight, boys. That's what you've earned here tonight. 1 game. If we played them 10 times, they might win 9. But not this game, not tonight. Tonight we skate with them. Tonight we stay with them, and we shut them down because we can. Tonight we are the greatest hockey team in the world. This is your time. Now go out there and take it. So I ask you, what is your inspiration? For me, coming from someone who professes faith in Jesus Christ and strives to make much of Him, my inspiration is found only in Him and His Word. When life hits hard and results aren't what I expect, I run to the Word and immerse myself in the promises of God and remind myself of the faithfulness of God. As Hebrews goes on to say, it says that He is faithful who started a good work in you to finish it. So I walk by faith and not by sight. So our inspiration roots us for what's to come and picks us up when we're knocked down. And something I found most encouraging says that we are only as strong as our inspiration. So let me ask you this again. What's your inspiration and what's it leading you to do? My inspiration can be found in Hebrews chapter 12. I'll read from verse 2 starting off. It says, "Looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before Him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider Him who endured from sinners such hostility against Himself, so that you may not grow weary or faint-hearted." That's my inspiration. And what does it lead me to do? Well, let's back up to verse 1. It says, "Therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings to us so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." That's my inspiration. That's what it leads me to do. I just want to encourage you guys as you go throughout this week to not only strive to be a great agent, but strive to find your inspiration and strive to figure out what it leads you to do. Let me pray for us real quick, and I'll pass it over back to Jeff. Heavenly Father, Lord, I just want to lift up each person that's on this call this morning or is tuning in throughout the week. Lord, I pray and lift each one up to you, that you would lead, guide, and direct them in all their endeavors and what you've called them to do, and give them strength where they fail, and hold up their heads when life hits hard, Lord. And we pray all these things only in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Camper, thank you again for being with us this morning, and an excellent devotion. And we've got two really great folks on the call this morning. Obviously, Camper there sharing with us, and two people that certainly don't lack for personality, and we appreciate you being with us. I'd like to take a moment now, as we do each week, to recognize our agent force with our weekly production update. We'll start with the agency as a total. Our entire company, an organization of One Life, just a hair below our watermark over the last, say, quarter or so, but still right there pretty close. Had a great week for 5/2 through 5/6, had $779,056 worth of submitted annualized premium, and an excellent week nonetheless for our agent force. We'll move right along to the team reports. We're certainly about team building, and we've got some folks doing an excellent job of that. Starting at number 5, Diversified, with a great week, you guys. $44,604 submitted AP. Number 4 on the list for the week, American Legacy Insurance Group, a new name to the top 5. Number 3, Lead Masters Insurance with $61,135. And then number 2, they've been battling back and forth, 1 and 2. But at number 2 this week, Innovative Insurance Brokers. Great week for their team with $118,909, just shy of $119,000 of submitted AP. And Life Management Group at the top again with $129,000, $820 added on to that, just short of $130,000 worth of submitted annualized production. Excellent, excellent week for all the teams out there. We'll move right along to the agent. This is my favorite part of the production update. It's always fun to hear your name called, and certainly we have a competitive group. We always focus on things like athletics. I love what Camper brought this morning, including that in there. Hey, if you can mix in some things that'll be key to your faith, mix in some competitive things, and mix in an opportunity for you to make money all at one time, that's some of the things that I just love about One Life, and some of the things that we like to share and hit on and key on. So we'll move along to our top 10 agents for the week. And if you aren't on here, certainly the goal might be to strive to be on this list. And some new names on the list this week. We'll start at number 10, Miss Rhonda Underwood, with an excellent week, $7,200, just over $7,200 in submitted AP. Mr. Kevin McGill, who's in the lead for Agent of the Year right now, $7,000. and $7,270 have submitted AP. Number 8, Mr. Jeffrey Birch with just shy of $8,100. Great week, Mr. Birch. Number 7, Mr. Philip Naftalin, $8,400, just over that. This next guy here at number 6, Austin Pelt, had a great week, but it absolutely hurts my OCD to mention that he wrote $9,999.96 worth of submitted annualized premium. Austin, if you'd have called me, I'd have probably taken an nap from you just to help my feelings there, but still a great week. Number 5, Mr. Reginald Forbes with $10,359 for the week of 5/2 through 5/6. Number 4, one of our managers, Mr. Scott Shaddy, $10,379 for an excellent week there. Number 3 for the top 3, Glenn Pelt, $11,202 submitted AP. Number 2 on the list, and he's at least relatively new over the last several weeks to the top 10, Mr. Michael Sirpilla with $20,600 submitted AP for the week of 5/2 through 5/6. And number 1 on the list, also one of our managers, Mr. Timothy Langford, affectionately known as Tim, at $23,500 and just short of $75 submitted annualized premium for the week. So excellent job. Take the opportunity now to move quickly into a marketing update for the week. We're now in the early planning stages for our next quarterly cash contest, and that will be scheduled mid to late June. So be on the lookout for that. Certainly opportunities to earn a little extra cash are never passed on lightly by insurance agents. I wonder why that is. But no, we're looking forward to that, and we'll be gearing up and releasing details about our cash contest coming up late June. Also, for those of you who aren't able to attend our Academy or Leadership Summit earlier this month, we have some videos now posted on YouTube with a couple of the sessions on there. Check those out and plan to be with us at the next Academy and Summit, which will be in August. And check on all of our social media offerings. You can certainly stay up to date with One Life by doing so. You can go to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, respectively, by clicking on the shortcuts to each at the top right corner of OneLifeAmerica.com. They're our homepage or first page that it brings you to when you enter OneLifeAmerica.com. We should have some shortcuts, again, on the top right corner. Now, moving right along, it's my honor to introduce our featured speaker this morning, Miss Robin Granberry. As a 2-year veteran with the company, Robin has broken 2 major stereotypes in the business. First of all, by selling life insurance over the phone, and second of all, by being a successful woman in our business. Since we began keeping appropriate records over the last 5 years, she's been one of the most consistent producers for the entire company, not just in the call centers, with over $725,000 in annualized premium since that time. We've had some shifts and some changes, and she's rolled right there through all of it with us. We'll mention some of that here as we get into our discussion here in just a little bit. She is a master communicator. She's comfortable carrying on a conversation with men and women from all parts of the country with various life experiences. For this morning's conference call, it is absolutely my honor to introduce a friend of mine, Miss Robin Granberry. Robin, are you there?
I am. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. It's great.
One Life America.
Well, I knew when we were discussing some potential people to be on the conference call and your name was brought up, I said, well, there is somebody that I know without a doubt can have a great presence over the phone. So it's an honor to have you with us. You have anything you'd like to share before we get started?
Well, just to tell everybody good morning, and I hope you have a great week. As insurance agents, we've got to get out there and hustle. So I know everybody's a little, sparse on time this morning, but I will be brief, but we'll get to the point.
Absolutely. I don't know if I mentioned this in your introduction, but you started with us 7 years ago this month. Robin, not a lot of people know this. You were a part of one of the first One Life call centers that actually sold life insurance over the phone. Talk a little bit about the journey from being a part of that experiment to being one of the most successful One Life agents in recent history.
Well, basically, when we first started, it was at the home office, and it was it's like a room up in the, very It's like an attic almost, to put it that way. But it's like the attic. And, just a couple of agents. Jeff, you were there.
Absolutely.
Just a few people. We actually started out with it was diabetic warehouse. We were doing like diabetic supplies and different things like that over the phone. And,
right.
I'm naturally competitive. So, over the course of time, it kind of got fun to, be in competition. And every week, we're trying to get people to buy more and more diabetic supplies. So,
absolutely.
Once we actually transitioned over to selling life insurance, we moved over to the actual call center across the street. And that's when I met Hank Perkins.
Right.
And one thing I have to say about Hank, and I always give him credit for, me partially being, and of course God, absolutely. But I have to give him somewhat credit for, helping me to, I'd say, critique my skills. And, I've always been a talkative person. Get that naturally from my mom. She loved to yap all the time. I did too. I do too. But,
sure.
Over the course of the years, he just basically kind of helped me to filter out my skills. And I just basically got to the point to where I felt like a script wasn't going to cut it. I like to talk to people. And I feel like if someone wants to purchase something, my main thing is to look at, what would it take for me to buy from myself?
Right.
And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm always thinking of the fact that whatever I say to someone, it needs to be, I need to put myself in their position.
Right.
And if you can't relate to your customer, then they're not going to be your customer. I mean, that's just the way it breaks down. I mean, there's no specific thing that you can do or say that, is just mechanical to get everyone to buy from you. You have to build a relationship and have a personality. Don't just be dry. And that's what I'll tell anybody. So
absolutely. One thing I wanted to hit on with you, back when we actually began selling life insurance, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, we only had one product, and it took about 45 minutes to sell it, and it had extremely tight underwriting. Of course, over the years, the product options have changed, and we also have more options. The process has gotten a little bit simpler. How did going through that learning process, from that really long call and having to really fight through, as you mentioned, the changes that we went through, how did that benefit you? And also, how do you approach things maybe differently now than you did then?
Well, to be honest with you, it's, a lot more lenient with the health conditions. And, sometimes you get on the phone with someone or you talk to someone that's just convinced that they are unable to get coverage.
Right.
And, they just kind of beat themselves up because they've been turned down so much.
Right.
And now being able to have these different companies compared to, that long call that's drawn out that, you take an hour really to complete because you have to complete the application and then get the interviewer on the phone. Basically, used to, someone had congestive heart failure, some of the major issues, there was absolutely nothing you could write them. And once they got turned down by our one little company, it was over.
Right.
And you can imagine staying on the phone with someone an hour just for them to be turned down. So, yeah. But it's a lot better process. It's a lot easier process. Even though I'll agree, Forrester's is still extremely lengthy. It hasn't really cut down as much. It's not like in the home, and I've done both ends of the spectrum now. And, I enjoy either way, but I guess I still stick with my roots as far as being on the phone because I feel like it is very essential to be able to like I said, have that connection to where that person sees your personality, because they're more apt to allow you to come into their home and trust you to, to be in their household around them and their family if you have that method of communication with them.
Wow. That takes me to a question I was saving for later, but I want to go ahead and hit on it since you touched on it there. It's actually maybe a little bit shocking to the system that you actually appreciate the over-the-phone situation because you feel like you can connect better over the phone. But what we've seen, and I know you've probably heard this, and we went through a number of agents in the call centers throughout the years. Of course, now you actually work with One Life on contract and are having just as much success as ever. But having said that, a lot of people have problems connecting over the phone. However, you've been able to be very successful, obviously, that way. What are some tips you might give, or what is it about being over the phone? How could you maybe give a few tips to folks that are having problem making that connection on that initial phone call?
Well, my main thing is you can't be dry. You need to, like I said, if you put yourself in a position where you actually, mentally put yourself in the place of your client instead of just, hey, I'm trying to sell this person. Well, get into the details as far as, I look at it like if I'm talking to a little old lady, this could be my grandmother.
Right.
This could be my aunt. This could be anybody, in my family. And, back 10 years ago, I was in the situation I lost my mom. And this was before I even started selling life insurance. And I just kind of, I know that sounds terrible, but I have to revisit that sometimes to put myself in the position to where I remember how it felt.
Right. Absolutely.
And that helps to connect with other people because a lot of folks, and it's a lot of us agents, we've never lost anybody really close to us.
Sure.
And once you do that, it kind of takes you to a different plane with being able to emotionally connect to your clients when you're talking to them.
Sure.
I just try to relate my feelings and my experience of what I dealt with, and it helps. So
good stuff. That's good stuff. I wanted to hit on a couple of things, too, before we get right to maybe a sample call, if you don't mind. But one last thing I wanted to touch on with you is, of course, over the first 6 to 9 months, as you mentioned there in the call center, I was able and blessed enough to sit there side by side. And I think of two qualities about you. Number one is you're competitive. That's one thing that automatically comes to mind when I think of Rob and Granberry. We would have competitions, and I remember I would try to sandbag a little bit and maybe not write my sales up on our board that we had. And just as soon as I'd write them, I'd be in the lead for just a second. And by the end of the day, somehow you would squeak out one more sale than me every day without fail. If I ever got the lead, which was rare, you would just squeak past me. So competitive and driven are two things. But there's one other thing, and that is when we went through dry periods, and we certainly did early on, you stayed positive and were one of the few agents that was able to have success in the call center there. How do you personally stay positive during a dry season for sales?
Well, I just look at it like this. At the end of the day, a sales job is no different from any other job. And if you're selling, you have to be realistic with yourself. You're not going to sell everybody. And, as agents, we do beat ourselves up over that, but because that's your bread and butter. But, you're going to have dry spells. You're going to have weeks where you're just sitting there pounding your head, wondering why, what's going on. And you can put it on 1,000 things. But you look at even with, selling cars. And people definitely need cars. That's one of the easiest things to sell. But the thing is, there are dry seasons with them selling cars. Even though people need them, they might run all kinds of discounts and all this other stuff, and you would think, hey, selling a car is much easier than selling life insurance. But I actually have a cousin that's a salesperson at Ford here, and, I mean, man, he goes through more dry sales than I do. But, I mean, they're always running promotions and different things like that, and, they do some really amazing things in the community and try to help, to get stuff out there, and you just run into the sales, and I don't let that determine everything for me, because I'm like, okay, I might have 1 week where I'll write $1,000, but by doggone it, the next week, if I can, I'm going to write 8,000 or 9 or 10.
Right.
It's just whatever, you just can't. And like I said, I myself am very guilty of that. You'll beat yourself up and you're like, what in the world am I doing wrong? And It's not necessarily, but you also have to critique yourself to where you don't beat yourself up to the point to where you get down and out and you don't come back stronger.
Absolutely.
So,
and you always
they learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You have to just survive them sometimes, be resilient, and you certainly have done that. So, we can go ahead and transition. I don't want to take too much of our agent's time, but I thought it might be a good idea if we just did a mock phone call. That I can simulate some of these callers and do that type of thing. You used to sometimes callers can get cranky with us and get difficult, and I definitely could let it affect me. I believe you actually coined me in the call center the hostile apostle. Was that right?
Yes.
Being that,
that was your nickname.
Yes. Being that I have a family that's in ministry, and also being that I would get frustrated from trying to compete with Robin, she coined the term hostile apostle for me. So
it was a term of endearment, but it was just hilarious to see Jeff sit there and just bang on that desk.
Don't tell on me, Robin. No, but we had a good time. So I can be an ornery, I can role play a little bit and be an ornery person that you might call, and we'll just go from there. So if you want to, I don't know if you were able to get the lead card. Were you able to get the lead card? I emailed you, Robin?
Yeah,
okay.
I got it. Uh-huh.
All right. Well, let's give it a go and just do a mock phone call real quick, and we can at least go through the process, and as soon as we get kind of a basic idea, we'll go from there. How about that?
That sounds good.
Good deal. All right. Hello.
Hi. How are you today?
I'm good. Who is this?
This is Robin Granberry. I'm calling. I'm with One Life America, and I'm a life insurance agent. Is this Mr. Jimmy Clark?
Oh, yeah. You said you're a life insurance agent.
Yes, Mr. Clark. I'm an agent. I have a card here that you actually sent in. You were requesting some information on life insurance?
Oh, it might have been my wife that did that. I don't know. Well, go ahead. What you got for me today?
Okay, Mr. Clark. Well, that's okay if your wife sent it in. Is it possible that you guys are maybe looking or in need of some life insurance coverage, or maybe some burial protection, something of that nature? Well,
I got a few thousand, but she has mentioned that she wanted to get a little more, but I think 5,000 is probably going to be enough.
Well, now, Mr. Clark, you do realize the average cost of a funeral nowadays is about between $8,000 and $10,000. Go ahead. I tell you what. Give me a cost. I got just a few minutes. Go ahead and give me give me some figures on a rate, if you will. Well, Mr. Jimmy, before I get into that with you, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
With your $5,000 of insurance that you already have, okay, and then we kind of tapped on the fact that $8,000 to $10,000 is the cost of funerals. For one, are you planning on a burial, or are you planning on cremation?
Yeah, I'm probably going to be buried. As a matter of fact, I know where I am. We've got some plots down there at the local cemetery. yeah, we're gonna be buried. But you saying 5,000 ain't enough for that?
No, not really. Let me ask you, if your wife was by herself and you passed on, and she's got to sit down there at that funeral home and with that funeral director and make those arrangements for you, and she's got to, I don't know if she still works. I imagine you guys are maybe, what age bracket are you guys in?
Well, I'm actually 74, and my wife is 70.
Does she still work?
No, we're both retired. We get our Social Security.
Okay, so that means that she drops down to one Social Security check every month if something happened to you, right?
Oh, I guess so. Is that the way that works? I think you may be right. I hadn't thought about that.
Pretty sure that's the way that works. Whoever is higher, that's what they'll still provide her.
Okay.
Yeah, but let me ask you this too. You guys pay bills together?
Yeah, she takes care of most all of them, but our checks go into our joint account, checking account there we got down at the local bank.
So you guys share your cost.
We do.
So let me ask you this. If you were to die, she's got to sit down here. She's got to make those plans with that funeral director.
Right.
And you got $5,000 of coverage on a policy. And then that funeral director tallies up all the things or the costs that are associated with your funeral cost, and he tells her that she's $3,000 short.
Yeah.
What
Be
would
pretty
she do
tough.
to get your money? Yes, sir. I agree it would. She's still got all her bills, and she's got to come up with $3,000 extra. And now she's on one Social Security check. So I tell you what I can do for you, Mr. Clark. I can look at some of these policies for you and for her, because that could also be you in that situation. What we're going to do today is try to supplement that loss. Now, I can't supplement it for you mentally, but financially I can help. So we'll look at some different prices, and you tell me what's within your budget, and we'll get you and your wife fixed up if possible. Okay?
Good deal. That's excellent work. Of course, I've heard you take all sorts of angles depending upon who you're talking to. Robin is a chameleon, you guys. I've heard her talk as proper as she possibly could. I've heard her talk like a redneck. I've heard every different type of slang or different relating to people that you could possibly hear. I think you've been everything from a deer hunter to a just whatever you had to be in this circumstance. Right, exactly. So we'll take an opportunity real quick. I'm going to open up the lines for a few questions. You mind taking a couple of questions before we wrap up the call, Robin? Is that okay?
Right ahead.
All right. I'm going to change the mute settings 1 second. All right, everybody, all you have to do is press *6. That'll unmute you, and you can ask probably the top telesales agent in our organization of all time any question you like. Hopefully, let's keep it, obviously on the topic of sales and also working over the phone. So yeah, open lines right now. Press *6 to unmute your line and ask Robin Granberry a call. We'll give just a minute. All right. Looks like that may have done it. We may have covered it all pretty well. Well, Robin, I certainly appreciate you being on the call with us, and we'll look forward to seeing how you do. And, of course, you're one of the few call center or telesales people that we have that are still active and writing. You're on contract now, but you're doing an excellent job. And we certainly appreciate you being on the call with us this morning.
No problem, Jeff. All right, it's my pleasure.
All right, well, that's going to wrap us up for this week for our conference call. Thanks for being with us again. We'll look forward to being with you again next week. If you have any suggestions for what you'd like to hear on our conference calls each Monday morning at 10:30, certainly feel free to email me at jboles@onelifeamerica.com, or you can call us at the home office call my extension 1348, and we'll be more than glad to maybe try to look at the possibility of trying some different things here on the conference call. Again, thanks so much for being with us. God bless you all, and here's to a great week.